Hey guys, it's Spaces Sims, and we are back with more Virche Evermore, continuing on Coffee's route. That sounds like it's on Coffee's route. It's become that, basically. On Coffee's, like adult Olfe, on Coffee, you know. But it just sounds like I'm saying on coffee. I wish I were on coffee right now. Anyway, yeah, so supporter might be Salome. Cyan is quote unquote dead, but I don't think he's really dead. I think that's part of the ploy. But also, if he's dead, it was like, why can't they fucking bring him back? What the hell? But valid, they don't have a body. Hugo just confirmed in the last part that there is no body. So they were just assuming he's dead. But also, if he was actually brutally murdered and there's no body, they can't reclone him. So that's part of the plan, you know, and the royal family's all thrilled. But I think the supporter might be Salome, and I think even though she hates Cyan, you know, I don't necessarily know that. Well, here's the thing, though. I don't know. You know, being the supporter and lying to the royal family in order to get in their good graces, to pretend to be able to stab them all because she hates them, makes absolute sense. Why is she funding Capucine and letting him do what he wants, and, you know, then also having Lucas go around and kill people, or bringing a piece of my body back? And she also popped out to try to protect me from Lucas. So that doesn't make sense. But, like, if somebody that the royal family, like, supposedly, quote unquote, killed, that's part of the royal family, and the only person that makes sense is Salome or her missing son, and that could be Hugo because her son had a 4-letter name, and that's all that would fit. But, like, if it's Hugo, that's kind of crazy. Because, like, he hated us in Eve's route because he's all in love with Eve, but, like, I mean, I guess it would be brilliant because you just think, like, damn, he hated us in Eve's route, but that's because he's in love with Eve and, like, whatever, and he's super protective of him, and okay. But, like, there's been nothing else to ever indicate, like, why he would be on their side or anything like that, or doing all of this. Salome makes sense, but still also doesn't. She still makes more sense, though. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but they're gonna have to sell me really well on it, because every answer I could come up with why it could be Dahut or Salome or Hugo is like, there's still some questions there that I'm not sure about. Salome makes the most sense to me, but I don't know. Anyway, and now the following day, there's just so many more questions than there are answers, is all I'm saying. The royal family announced to the country that the institute was destroyed and Science died. So yeah, the whole place is in chaos now. I don't know where you guys are hiding, but it's best that you stay there for now. Hold on. My volume just cranked. Drama music. Word had not reached the isolated cliffs where Unko's hideout stood. Just as shocking as Cyan's death was the news about the Institute being destroyed. Does that mean all the equipment used to create relivers were destroyed by Boro? No one in the country would be able to revive anymore. Now, that would make sense also, Cyan be fully dead, because that's what happened when he fully died in that one route. We can no longer live beyond 23 years. Cyan, Mathis, and even Jean. I suddenly felt dizzy, but I managed to grip my teeth and keep from passing out, knowing that this was no time to collapse. And what about Eve? He's out looking for Boro and his fake relivers. Adolphe clicked his tongue. It's not Eve's fault that those 3 died. Keep an eye on him so he doesn't do anything stupid. Yeah, I'll take care of my partner, so you guys focus on yourselves and stay safe. Anyway, that's how it is. What do you think of the situation? If Hugo asks where we are, I'm gonna be sus. Something's definitely fishy. How could they have found out about Cyan's death so quickly? Our plans were hatched in secret, and Cyan didn't tell anyone where he was. The fact that they made the announcement so quickly means we all knew who we were referring to when we said they. The royal family was aware that night that Cyan was going to die. Or maybe they had a plan to have him killed. Assassination. Which would also mean that Boro's a pawn for that damn family. Yes, we know that. Well, the supporter who's puppeteering. But what I don't understand is why they would destroy the Reliver equipment that's basically their lifeline. Maybe they did it to get rid of any backup data that Cyan might have made for himself. Then again, if that were the reason, they'd only need to destroy the server, not risk their lives by destroying everything. Maybe they're planning on having some other scientists build new equipment? Cyan wouldn't have been called a god if it was so easy to create relivers. I assume the details were protected in some way. Maybe if the technology was stolen and modified, but I doubt anyone could rebuild it from scratch. If so, Bert, I'm gonna need you to simmer down or I'm chucking you over the banister. Maybe they have some assurance that things will be fine even if reliver technology is lost. As I muttered this, I heard a sound from the transmitter that confirmed it. Tracking device? Because now we're other. The death of Cyan Brophies, the developer of reliver technology, was shocking news that spread throughout the country. He really did. News that the Institute's equipment had been destroyed was also made known. The citizens were thrown into turmoil. Hey, what the hell? If Cyan's dead and the Institute's destroyed, does that mean we can't become relivers anymore? So, we're all gonna die from death's curse? I thought reliver technology meant we could live forever! Damn it, I gave so much funding to the Institute, and it's all for nothing now. No use. Without reliver technology, everyone in this country will perish. Cries of despair filled the air. Just then, a high-pitched sound broke through their wails. After a short wave of static, the speakers located around the country delivered another announcement. Do not despair, my beloved citizens of Arpachel. The age of clinging to false salvation and the sinful god Cyan Brophies is finally over. We, the royal family, have succeeded in finding the saint who can purge the curse on his behalf. Saint? Not even Cyan was able to find a way to get rid of the curse. I don't care who it is, as long as we can be saved. Where's this saint of theirs? It's interesting that they're going to quote-unquote sacrifice me, but it's physically impossible. That's not going to save them. That'll be fun. The saint has been abducted by the reviled Death himself. We ask our citizens to assist us in finding them in order to save the country. The name of the saint born among the flowers of misfortune, no, the holy flowers that gave her the power to save us, is Spacey, the golden-haired maiden once mistaken for death. By sacrificing her to the heavens, the curse will be purged, and this land will finally see true salvation. Didn't they sacrifice me in one of the endings? Pretty sure they all died after that, but... And there's me like, Adelphi and Anko basically are both like, the fuck? Saint? Me? We were stood in shock after hearing the sudden announcement through the transmitter. What in the world is happening? A terrifying shock. I turned around to see Anko with his fist slammed against the rocky wall of the cave. Blood was dripping down both the wall and his fist. But it was only for a moment. Before I could even worry, his wound quickly healed. Anko? Why? His low growl drowned out my voice. It was only Eve and Cyan. How the hell did they find out about the Lycoris Noirs? Huh? Couldn't be. Anko? I tried to chase after Anko, who quickly ran out of the cave with bloodshot eyes, but Adolphe held out his arm and stopped me. Don't go outside.
Everyone out there is searching for you like their lives depend on it.
But we can't just leave Unko.
Yeah, I know. Damn it, what a pain in the ass.
Adolphe raised the transmitter in his hand up to his mouth.
Hugo, I need you to come meet us here. There's someone we need to take into custody.
Hugo heard our conversation and sounded confused, but he quickly responded to his leader's command. No, don't. I don't know if we can trust. I'm not 100% sure we can trust Hugo. I don't want to distrust Hugo, but I don't.
And the other guys and I are running around Coen to control the situation, so no can do.
Okay, good. Then okay, maybe I can trust Hugo. Okay, unless he's like, if he was like straight up, oh sure, I'm coming. I don't know. I don't know if I trust you.
But Eve can go. I doubt Boro's around, so I'll let him know to head your way. I'm counting on you. The location is past the Lycoris Noirges.
Adolphe relayed the exact location of the hideout in the closest Lycoris field, along with Unko's description before signing out. Why are you... Adolphe... Wonder what happened to Unko. For a moment, he sounded like a completely different person.
It's not unusual for him to act randomly like that. Not that we can do anything, so let's leave Eve and Hugo to take care of him. As for us, we should calm down and sort things out. And too much is happening all at once.
You're right. I'm confused about Unko's change the Lycoris Saint Boro. I'm confused about... Well, I'm not confused about Boro. Absolutely not confused about that at all. I'm confused about Unko's change, but also not. She would be confused about Unko's change. Absolutely. But I'm not. I mean, I want to know exactly what he's thinking, and because he knows something that we don't quite know yet. But, you know. But, like, the Lycoris, like, why they would suddenly go from... I think being the saint is probably the most confusing thing right now. I think that's the most confusing thing. Do we go through all of them? Maybe we go through all of them. Let's find out. Well, the Lycoris Saint. Okay.
After all that time calling you Death, now everyone's calling you some damn saint? The Lycoris Saint? Do you have any idea why they'd call you that?
Of course not. I can understand why they'd call me Death, but... Hearing me talk badly about myself again, he tapped me on the forehead. I'm sorry, it just slipped out, but... Now that I think about it, I guess I can understand why they use the word Lycoris, since my life has been all about them. I liked Lycoris since I was little, and I would always go to the Lycoris field.
Weren't you born in the field, too?
Yeah, but I don't know how and why, and I don't know anything about my parents. Why would they combine the word saint with the Lycorises that the people hate? Wouldn't brightly colored flowers suit the image of a saint more than Lycorises? And the announcement said that I'd be able to purge the curse from the country.
Eve said he was told that the curse would get stronger if the Lycorises wilted or something. Meaning that the Lycorises are somehow weakening the curse's effect, right?
I suppose. I mean, it sounds like something from a fairy tale, but we do have Unko as living proof.
Yeah, and those bastards might have evidence on their side, proving it's real somehow. I want to say it's because you were born in the Lycoris field.
Adolphe mumbled, saying that Unko's response confirmed his suspicion. But Eve only told his secret to people he trusted, so how could the royal family have found out about the flowers? The other thing we needed to discuss was, okay, maybe we go through all of them, so. Okay, I cheated, I scrolled up, we go through all of them, okay. Boro.
That gag order the royal family issued could have been to cover Boro in addition to preventing investigations from being done.
How could they order assassinations when they're supposed to be protecting the public? If only when Boro appeared last night, things would be different. I wondered where his clones were manufactured. It had to be a secret place away from the Institute. After all, both the Institute and national law prohibited the manufacture of relivers for those who were still alive. He killed Cyan, Mathis, and so many others. Maybe this is the point where you're like, yeah, and also he sounds like Lucas, by the way. I was angry that he could kill my friends. But apart from that, I feel like I've heard his voice before. I feel like you should recognize Lucas's voice because it's very distinct. I mean, not just the way I do it, but like, in general. I'm just saying. Gabby boy. Okay, now there you go. I'm like, seriously, like, I I mean, I know sometimes, especially maybe it's for me, but sometimes there's some where you're like, this voice sounds familiar, and then you look up the voice actor and you're like, okay, no, I've never actually heard their voice before, but sometimes it could sound similar to somebody else's. But like, I'm just gonna guess based on what we know in the games and the anime I've heard Daisuke Hirakawa in before, that like his voice is pretty distinct. I think you would have recognized the way, however he's doing Lucas. I'm gonna guess it doesn't sound like any of the other characters, so it should have been easy to place. But she got it, so.
What's wrong? You suddenly got quiet.
Well, the image of a kind and loving teacher appeared in my mind. The memory was too vivid to say that it was only my imagination, which was why I needed to let Adolphe know. Right? Like, I knew I needed to tell him, but I didn't want to believe that this kind soul was actually a ruthless killer. Once I say his name, both Adolphe and I will think of him as an enemy. Back then, his voice sounded distressed, like he was seeking help, but hatred could easily overpower that. Seeing me think deeply,
You don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
Adolphe gave me a way out of it. But Adolphe, if I didn't mention anything, it might result in greater casualties.
And you've got your way of looking at things, right? Our priority is to make sure we're safe. We can always talk about Boro and whether you want to share later. Oh, and whatever you want to share later, sorry. Besides, I doubt Boro would be able to move in this kind of environment. So whenever you decide, just let me know.
Thank you. You're always understanding when it comes to these things. You could have just said, listen, I just feel like I heard Boro speak and his voice sounded familiar, but it also sounded like he was struggling, like, and I don't want to, I'm confused. You know what I mean? Like, you could just explain it and be like, I'm pretty sure it's Lucas. His voice is so familiar, but I can't believe that he's evil, so I want to believe that something else is going on. So maybe instead of hating him, let's just be cautious. You know? The other thing we needed to discuss was Unko's change. I wonder what's going on with Unko. Listen, going through the change is difficult, okay?
I wish he could just stay put for now. The saint has been abducted by the reviled Death himself. We ask our citizens to assist us in finding them in order to save the country. And from what we heard, it sounds like they're after him, too.
You think that the announcement was referring to Unko? Or why would that be?
And probably to use him as a test subject.
Here's the thing. The only person that knows about... Hugo doesn't know about Anko. So, Salome makes the most sense. Because, okay, Dahut knows about Anko. Dahut doesn't know that Anko has regenerative abilities and is immortal. Salome is the only one who does, so she's really the only one that makes sense as being the puppeteer here. You know? I'm not sure why she wants to kill me and why she was willing to kill Cyan and all that, but, well, anyway. I gasped at his nonchalant reply.
If someone's able to gain the immortality that Anko has, there'd be no need for reliver technology anymore.
Unless it's Adolphe puppeteering everything. And that would be a fucking twist. You'd be like, whoa, wait, what? No, I'm sorry. I know I just said that out loud, but if that came to pass, I'd still be like, nope. Did not see it coming, even though I threw it out there. That is just the furthest thing from my mind. Like,
No, that's so... No! Fuck.
Uh, but Unko isn't a normal person. He said he came from Hades. I doubt any human would be able to possess the same power he has.
Maybe they think he's just some guy with genetic mutations. He hasn't really told us much about it, even after all this time.
And Adolphe's over there like, and I seem to be kind of immune to the curse, so I'm just thinking that, like, maybe he's a normal person who's weird like me. Now that you mention it, you're right. The announcement was made by the royal family, who seemed to know about me and my past. Even if they got information about Anko from Boro, it was difficult to believe that they could know more about him than we did. Adolphe and I came to a conclusion. There has to be someone monitoring us during our investigation. Someone who's providing help to the royal family. They could have reported any information they learned to the royal family. Adolphe nodded. I felt dizzy at the thought. We already had to worry about Boro coming after us, even Mother. And now this. I think Salome's the closest person, because who else knows about Anko's ability? Everybody knows Anko's with you, but nobody knows about his ability. Nobody's seen that but us and Salome, right? Unless I'm forgetting. I'm guessing that Mother must have heard that announcement too. I can only imagine what must be going through her mind. I'm pretty sure she's the reason for it.
I'm worried about your safety, as always.
Despite witnessing her sudden change firsthand, Adolphe gave his response immediately, which made me chuckle. I felt the same way, too. I was sure she was worried about us, and I wish that I could at least let her know that we were safe. I feel like they're leaning it more toward it's going to be Salome, because they're like, yeah, she's all worried about, what do you mean she backstabbed us? We're being very naive here after what we saw, and after she chained up Adolphe. So I'm just saying I'm not sure if we can... I feel like they're both being a little naive here.
But we can't head back to town just yet.
We also had to find out why she acted so strangely last night.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to getting chained up again.
Look at his sweet little face right now. His face is so different from his normal. He's like, yeah, and it's adorable, but also like, there's a slight madness to it. She told me she was going to keep us locked away in the storage shed, too. Mother was like a completely different person back then, which frightened me. I don't know what it is, but this Adolphe sprite, this face, is probably his best. Because it's like, he does look I feel, it's totally normal, but it looks slightly unhinged for Adolphe, because he always has a very perplexed or confused or kind of angry, like exasperated face. So this kind of just relaxed, easygoing smirk, little jovial face is almost feels unhinged for him. You know what I mean? But I love it. Like, I remembered the intense look in her eyes as she watched Anko heal himself. Put the pieces together, girl. I can't blame her for not putting pieces together. They don't know what puzzles are, so okay, right. You knew that was going to come out sooner or later. Nothing could ever make me doubt that the love she gave us all those years was real. But I also knew that emotions could become twisted into something much darker, despite one's intentions. Also, it's not that she didn't love you, but she spent way more time being obsessed with fixing this country and curing everything and getting back at the royal family that, you know what I mean? It's not surprising that overrode the fraction of a second in the long lives she's lived that she loved you, you know? And relivers and love, and so we wouldn't go back until that was resolved. I felt a sudden sadness. With everything that was happening, I couldn't even go see my mother. I was thinking, after I left your place, that I could go back to the orphanage where Mother would be waiting.
Yeah, me too. I kept picturing the day you'd be proven innocent, how happy Mother would be to see you. It looks like we're gonna have to wait a little longer for that day.
Yeah. All we wanted was to live long, happy lives. We were willing to take matters into our own hands to find a solution. That was all I wanted, but reality continued to move on its own, leaving my wishes unfulfilled.
Show me the wound on your arm. It should be about that time we disinfected again.
Yours too, Adolphe. You hit that wall pretty hard back then, didn't you? We decided to check on each other's wounds and tend to them so we could get our minds off the bleak situation we were in. Are we gonna, ever go see Anko's perspective? Because I want to know why he walked down. I want to. Okay. Have we ever been straight up in. Like, we've had Adolphe, we've done. But have we ever gone Anko, or has it always been other? I guess Anko's always been other. Ah. Ah. Anko continued to run through the salty wind coming from the ocean. His weakened state immediately tired his lungs, making him breathe with a dry sound. Let's be safe. At times he stumbled over the flowers under his feet, but he continued to run. He ran toward the grave of the person who entered into a contract with him long ago. The gravestone was hidden beneath rubble, deep within the licorice field, but Eve's grandpa? The grave had been unearthed, along with the licorice noirs around it. A number of motionless corpses were littered around the gaping hole in the ground. Uncle paid no attention to the bodies and quickly looked inside what was once the grave. Oh, no. Right, because wasn't the book in there? Eve, you better not be the supporter, you son of a bitch. But you know what I mean? Eve's grandfather had a book, remember? And we found and the diary or the book was buried with him. Eve knew about it. Who else would have known? Well, in Eve's route, we came and Capucine showed up here. And the supporter gave that book. That was the book that they were given. Because I was thinking that in my head and they were talking about the book and it's in here. And I didn't put the connection together until just now. But because I was thinking in my head about the book, but then I was too focused on trying to figure out who the supporter is. But again, if you had the voice acting on, you might be able to tell. But it said over a transmitter. So, I don't know if, they would know. They know who it is, but I don't know if you would know. If the voice would sound kind of like how Capucine said, oh, you can't tell if the voice is a man or a woman or whatever, their age, nothing, to leave it all up in the air. So I would assume the supporter, when they were talking to the royal family, was mumbled and garbled the same way. You know what I mean? But how did they know about the book? Because that diary or whatever, well, it was the diary. It was his grandfather's diary was buried with him. Shit. His ashes in the book. They're gone. Sure, I hid them here. What happened to them? Grave robbers. The moment Anko realized it, he felt an anger he hadn't felt in ages. She won't learn the truth without that book. Someone stole the most valuable piece of information needed to discover the truth behind the curse. Adding to insult, the memory of his dear friend who trusted him and kept his promise had been trampled upon by foolish greed. Hearing footsteps, Uncle reached into his pocket and turned around. He gripped the handle of his weapon and was prepared to draw it out when... Are you... Uncle? Adolphe and Hugo told me to come look for you. His breathing stopped for a moment at the unexpected encounter. Wait, the family grave! What are all these bodies? Similar to Unco, Eve looked at the desecrated grave, then the bodies, and moved his hand to the hilt of his sword. You are... Eve looked at his otherworldly appearance, and straight into Unco's eyes of fiery crimson, and in the next moment... Could you be... Have they never met before? Unco should absolutely know who Eve is. Eve is his bestie. But, I thought they met once before, but maybe not. No, Eve told us, and we were like, oh, that's true, okay. Anyway, could you be... the same death that my ancestors made a contract with? This face, this is normal Eve. Look, he's all blushing and big-eyed. Eve's eyes widened and sparkled. His suspicion quickly changed to friendship, leaving Uncle bewildered and speechless. Eve went on to say his family name, which made it clear that he was on Unco's side. clear confirmation that the person in front of him was a descendant of his old ally.
Wow, I never thought I'd be lucky enough to meet you during my lifetime.
I find it hard to believe that Eve could backstab us. I mean, I don't think any of our love interests would be the supporter, because that would just be too weird, but...
I knew it was worth it, protecting these flower fields. I wish you could have met my grandfather, too. And you're just like the legend with those mysterious, beautiful eyes. You're really deaf. No way.
Eve, you are way too into this. Simmer down, bird. Don't make me chuck you over the banister. As he spoke friendly words of goodwill, he smiled innocently, arranging the lifeless bodies with care and respect. It was quite a sight to witness someone accept his suspicious presence so quickly.
I see you're as soft-hearted as ever.
See, you're as soft-hearted as ever, something that only a Dolphin would think.
Huh? Did you say something?
Unko hit his mouth and turned his head the other way in response.
By the way, I am not deaf, but rather the watchman of death. I would appreciate your not mistaking me again. Oh, I see. I don't understand the difference, but sure thing. So, why are you working with a Dolphinus sister in the first place? It is a long story, but it stems from a contract I made with the princess in relation to the curse. Contracts? Oh, okay, got it. So the girl you wanted to give the Lycoris to is actually Spacey.
The sudden honest comment quickly raised Unko's body temperature. Aww.
I always thought she'd be a human. Love stories about past lives were popular in Coen for a while. I'm right, aren't I? The fact you're here means you're about to propose to her with a bouquet of Lycoris noirs.
Look at, he's so into this. Oh my god, he's such a fucking nerd. He is the most adorable labradoodle ever.
Huh? No, you're wrong. If anyone's supposed to do so, it should be you. Go on and take as many flowers as you want. It sure feels good to know we were protecting the place for a reason. Oh, but could you tell me later on how it went? I mean, it's like a fairy tale. Love transcending life and death and all that.
I think it's so funny that he's like, it should be you. You're the keeper of the flowers, and she's basically a flower. Makes sense.
Wait, don't pluck the Lycorises with your bare hands. Please, you have to listen to me.
Unko rushed to stop Eve, who was so happy he completely forgot about misfortune and was about to head to his own death.
I appreciate the sentiment, but perhaps it would be best to focus on the grave robbers for now. Oh, that's right. My family's ashes!
He's such an adorable idiot. The grave robbers probably died from the curse as they unearthed the grave, which was covered with Lycorises. Eve turned over a few of the bodies and looked at their pained expressions.
And I hate the Noirs family. But that doesn't make sense, since this country's got an even bigger problem now.
Unko moved toward the bodies and shifted their clothes to see liver marks on their skin. They looked like any other person, but it seemed as if they changed their clothes to visibly disguise their identities.
Even if with backups, I doubt anyone would have the courage to go near these flowers. They must work for the royal family. And did your grandfather ever tell you what was buried in this grave? What do you mean? The ashes? I'm sure my ancestor you met was in there too. See, I thought they would have shared fragments, but I suppose things are not so convenient. I mean, there was something else in there. My parents didn't tell me anything when they buried my grandfather.
Eve jumped down into the empty grave, then brought out the empty casket to the surface.
Forgive me. It would have been in the stolen ashes. Apart from that, there is nothing. Huh? There's something buried down here.
What? Unko looked down into the hole and saw Eve using his sword to stab the area where the casket once lay. Sensing that the tip of his sword hit some object other than dirt or stone, he quickly got to digging it up.
What is that?
Buried there was a small iron box, which Eve carried under his arm as he climbed back up to where Unko was waiting.
It's locked. Can you take a step back?
He set it down and raised his dusty sword. The lock was quite old, so it easily broke into pieces when the blade struck. So the book was. I thought. How did she have the book? Inside was a worn and aged book. That's. Eve flipped to the first page with a flower drawn on it, and Anko's eyes immediately widened. So, wait, didn't he have a diary? So, did he have two? Because, like, how did the book. They took the. I assumed when he saw the thing and was like, the book is missing, that the book they needed was given. Was what the sponsor or the whatever, whoever, had and said, like, oh, here's this book, this is what you need. Like, Anyway.
They're not just scribbles. Maybe another language. They're curved around like snakes. The flower here looks like a red licorice noirge. Why isn't it black? I see.
The only thing in the ashes was a translated version of the parts that needed to be passed down through the generations. Ah. Okay, we found the translated bits and pieces, but this is the original book.
A separate original makes sense. This book and the one on martial arts was written in
blank blank's language. Oh, in the Drifters language? I bet that's the Rifter apostrophe Drifters language. The Drifters language! I don't know why that has to be redacted, because we know who the Drifter is.
Which means what's written in there should be the same. If he can manage to read this, the situation might finally change.
Anko reached out to the book in Eve's hand, but just before his fingers could touch it, his body froze in place as though time stopped, preventing from going any closer, preventing him.
Shh! Curse this interference!
Eve was surprised by the phenomenon as he just witnessed. Was surprised, too, by the phenomenon he just witnessed, but Anko was undeterred.
Eve, are you able to read the words written there?
Huh?
No. I've never seen words as complex as these before. If Mathis was still alive, he probably would have been able to, since he told me that his family worked on translations. Then, let us head to his mansion. I assume he must have materials we can use to read the book.
Protected at all costs!
Got that. Hey, wait! That's all if I asked me to take you into custody!
Eve hurriedly chased after Anko, who headed down the road leading to town. Before he could grab Anko's arm to stop him and explain the situation, deliberate footsteps could be heard. They came from what was an empty spot just a moment ago. The black shadow of death stood there like a ghost. But unlike before, he showed no signs of hostility. He merely looked on in silence. They didn't have any time to be surprised, as their reactions were too delayed. Goro smiled gently, and in the next moment... He just killed Eve? Her black field of flowers was dyed in red. They just steal the book. Fucking A. I thought we were finally getting somewhere. Son of a bitch! This route is the worst! We were having a good time for a while. But everything is against us and everything is going wrong and I am mad. Ouch! Blood dripped to the ground as a sharp pain ran through my arm.
He got you really deep. I hope it doesn't leave a scar.
Even if it does, I'm lucky he didn't chop my whole arm off. I said it as a joke, but it seemed like Adolphe didn't take it that way.
I'm sorry I got you into so much trouble.
He spoke regretfully as he wrapped a clean cloth around my upper arm.
I'm never there when you need me, am I? Worse, I told you I'd protect you, and this is what happened.
You don't need to apologize, Adolphe. I knew what I was getting into. I also don't think anyone would have expected Mother to come after us. Sorry, I had to adjust. Especially because the bird is being fucking aggravating right now. I need you to sit fucking still.
And that's not even an excuse. I could have lost you if even the others weren't there to help. Finally here, you useless bag of meat. The only reason she's safe is because the guardian of the Lycoris risked his life to protect her while you were having a nap. You should also thank Cyan Brofeast and Mathis Claude for playing a significant role in your safe return. Shut up! You don't have to tell me that!
Adolphe, don't tell me what Uncle said has been bothering you all this time. Knowing his silence was his answer, I continued. It's just a matter of luck, really. Eve or I could have been in your place if things had gone differently. You know that, right, Adolphe?
I do, which is why I hate myself for always getting lucky like that. I wasn't able to even pull on my sword to protect you.
Adolphe gritted his teeth with frustration, wow. Uncle's words must have had so much of an effect on him. But I'm just happy that Adolphe is by my side as often as he is. But no matter what I thought, Adolphe still felt like he hadn't done enough. There was nothing else he could have done. I couldn't seem to think of a good way to cheer him up, when luck had such a big part in how things turned out. But Adolphe didn't say much more, probably thinking it was meaningless to talk about it further. Adolphe did it. I endured the small, sharp pains in silence as Adolphe continued to wrap the bandage around my arm. Next, it was my turn to tend to Adolphe's injuries. Fortunately, they were mostly bruises and not broken bones, so I cooled down the swelling with a wet cloth and applied a salve. Hey, Adolphe, about that announcement, do you think it's really possible to get rid of the curse if I'm offered as a sacrifice? I asked as I put away the medicine, while Adolphe rolled down his clothes.
What are you trying to say?
Adolphe turned around and looked at me with a stern expression.
You'd better not be thinking of offering yourself as a sacrifice to save the country or something.
I couldn't hide anything from Adolphe. I mean, girl, that was pretty obvious what you were thinking. He ain't stupid. Just a little. No, to be honest, I am thinking about it. I thought I could atone for my past sins by saving everyone this time. I didn't want to commit any more sins and fall deeper into despair. If the announcement had been made by Cyan, I might have made my decision without a second thought.
Are you stupid? Why would you believe the bastards who assassinated the queen for trying to get rid of the curse? We just have to get rid of the curse ourselves before them. Simple as that.
As expected, Adolphe blew away my doubts. You're right. I don't think everything they said in that announcement is true. But I thought that maybe we could use it to our advantage and see what they might be basing their ideas on. They clearly mentioned that death and the Lycris Noirges were needed for salvation. They must have a reason for saying so. If it's too dangerous to go near the royal family, maybe we can ask Eve about the Lycrises. He must have thought that I had a point, because the normally stubborn Adolphe fell silent. If I could manage to make a convincing argument, he might actually agree with me. Adolphe, you don't have much time. I think it's the you don't have much time, not Cyan and Mathis have died. I think it's you don't have much time. Ah, Felicia, this is another bad end. Well, we're not going to get that one, but, haven't we only ever had 2 bad endings in the second, or do we have 3? Anyway. Yeah, you don't have much time. I was right. Cyan and Mathis have died is a bad end. Well, yeah, because usually, whichever one is the last choice, if it's the second or third save, I can't remember if we had 3 saves in the other ones. That one's usually where you get the salvation end, and it's always the same choice. Your and Lucas's lives are about to end, whether we stay in hiding or not. Being too careful will only make matters worse. I don't want Nadia to experience the sadness I felt back then. When I learned Adolphe wasn't going to become a reliver, was he lying to me all this time? Why wouldn't he want to live? I nearly lost all hope that night.
Yeah, hearing you yell at me was more than I could take. I can't refuse you again after seeing you look at me like that.
You mean...
You've put up with a lot until now. I want to fulfill as many of your wishes as possible. Besides, I also have a few words for those royal bastards for kicking off a damn witch hunt.
Right. Thank you, Adolphe. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait for Anko to return, since he knows details about the curse. I'm sure the important parts are going to be interfered with like before, but whatever he says is still important.
Yeah, I figure Eve has found him by now. We'll have to talk to him too and get more information on what his family's been saying about the Lycris.
Suddenly, before he could finish his sentence, wind from the ocean blew into the cave. Breeze drifted between us. The normally salty air carried the scent of iron. Adolphe and I immediately looked toward the cave entrance. We could see a mob out in the distance, and we knew neither Unco nor Eve were among them. Adolphe! What could we do? There was no place in the cave where we could hide.
Stay close to me, no matter what.
I nodded in response. Adolphe grabbed the bed sheets with one hand and took my hand with the other. He pulled us into the shadow of a sharp rock formation that jutted out from the cave wall. We kept quiet, and
I never knew there was a cave like this in the Lycoris field. Saint has to be here somewhere.
I'm just saying, who knew about this besides Eve and Hugo? How did Mother know about it? I'm just saying.
We need to capture her so we can be saved.
We heard the footsteps of the mob approaching us from afar. The residents of Coen. Sharp clanging sounds from their makeshift weapons carried into the cave and echoed.
Lycoris Saint, please come out and save us! We need you. We need your power. We need your flesh and blood.
I could recognize some of the voices. The mob sounded familiar to the one that came to the orphanage back then. A chill ran down my spine at their request. In contrast, Adolphe seemed about ready to burst out and give them a word or two. Or a stab or two. I'd kill them. Fuck him. Kill him, Adolphe. But he was doing his best to restrain himself as one of them came in with a light to brighten the room when suddenly...
Run!
Right! He threw the bed sheets over the mob as we both ran out from behind the boulder. Oh, I'd have killed them all, but...
What the?
He must have been on edge already, hearing that the saint would be in the company of death.
Hey! The sacrifice is getting away! Go after them!
We quickly ran past the mob and made a mad dash toward the entrance as they struggled with the bed sheets. You should have made sure it was the curved bottom sheet. Nobody knows how to manage that shit. There is a trick to folding a bottom sheet, but you know what I'm just saying? Like, that's the tricky one. The regular sheet, but you should have thrown the bottom sheet at him. That would have really fucked him up for a while.
And that must have been what they were really thinking. They're rotten to the core.
We escaped the voices of the people asking me for salvation, and Adolphe led the way through the field of flowers. We did our best to try and avoid breaking the Lycorises, but it slowed us down considerably. Still, we continued as fast as we could so we could rejoin Unco and Eve. Are we going to come just in time to see... We finally arrived at a relatively open space. We had reached the grave of the Guardians of the Lycoris, which was in ruins. The current descendant of the family was lying face down in a pool of red blood. We could smell the iron that we recognized earlier. The winds must have carried it to the cave. I was hoping we were going to come just in time, but... Wow, everybody's going to die in this one, huh? His hand was latched onto a large sack, soaked in red. It was our teacher with his back facing us.
Lucas.
Lucas? At the sound of our voices, Lucas turned around with a blank expression. He was wearing the same clothes as Boro. But more shocking than the cruel truth we faced was, oh my god, is Unco dead? The slightly open sack that was weighted down by its heavy contents. Unco's head? A beautiful lock of hair spilling out in a familiar silvery gray. Oh no! I don't think... Oh, fuck! Wait, it can't be. Yeah, you ain't gonna heal from that. We'd stumbled upon the scene of a crime, but he didn't flee or prepare to fight us. There's the thing! Okay. He seemed to be looking past us with cloudy eyes. I could hear his heartbeat from here as it screamed in a plea for life. That's Lucas? I prepared myself for the idea that he really was Boro. I never expected I would find him to be a complete stranger.
Let him go!
Adolphe pulled out his sword to prepare for battle with the infamous killer. But even at the sight of the sword, he didn't do anything. Sensing something wasn't right, Adolphe began speaking instead of fighting.
What are you doing? If Nadia finds out that you were the killer...
Adolphe said something simple and...
Nadia,
His lips finally began to move. I'll fucking tell her if you don't put Anko's head back on his body. Lucas mumbled something as he continued to hold onto the sack with Anko's body inside. Oh, his whole body's in there. Okay, I thought you chopped his head off. But Anko can't die, so like... What did you do to him? I mean, it might take him a while to heal if you butchered him. God, I followed the command to purify the monster, possessing my angel. So, please, Nadia, save her. Huh?
Huh? What happened to the girl who was here before? Don't tell me. Stop imagining things. She just transferred to another hospital. I heard she's gonna do physical therapy with one of Dr. Capucine's colleagues. I even saw the society escort her out myself. Oh no. Even in this one, oh, fuck her. This might be the worst ending out of all of them. Jesus. Everyone is dead. Even Nadia didn't get a pass. Everything is falling down around us. Jesus. I will swear my allegiance to you. I will never go against you.
He prayed desperately to the heavens with eyes that had lost their sanity.
Please return, Nadia. Please, I beg of you. Please do not let her die ahead of me.
Lucas.
Hey.
It was undeniable that he stole the lives of those close to us. But seeing him pray so desperately and earnestly left me at a loss for words. Yeah, he killed Eep. I didn't know what he meant by returning Nadia either.
Seems like we gotta talk to him before things get worse.
Adolphe kept his guard up as he slowly lowered his sword. In that moment, the mob. An arrow flew from behind and struck Adolphe in the shoulder. Oh, geez. Here comes Salome. Adolphe! Shh! Adolphe quickly pulled out the arrow. The wound wasn't deep, but the arrow's point still had a trace of strange-colored liquid. It looked like some kind of poison or sedative. Before I could call out to him, Adolphe's strength quickly left him, and he began to stagger. Jesus fucking Christ! What? This is why we can't have nice things, game! What the fuck? We were having such a good time. There was a point where everything was great, and you knew it was going to end tragically, but I didn't think it was going to go this far fucking south with everybody just dying and like, fuck! Oh! I mean, I know it's going to probably be a tragic end, but like, we're still missing so many pieces of the puzzle. We're going to have to be kidnapped and then have villain monologues. Oh, Jesus. We're not getting on this part, though. Before he could fall, he quickly stabbed his sword into the ground to use as a crutch. You know, the only person who shoots arrows that we know of. Adolphe shouted as a cold sweat began to form on his face.
Spacey, run!
But I can't leave you alone out here! Even if I did try to make a run for it, it was too late. The mob we escaped was beginning to surround us. There must have been around 20 people. More than the group that entered the cave, likely joined by others on a similar search.
The Lycurgus Saint! Please forgive our rudeness! We've been sent for you! Come, let us escort you to the castle!
Yeah, so you can behead me, Jesus. I'm really curious, like, if there's any more save points. Like, I don't know. We need you! Please save this country! Please save our lives! The mob slowly closed in without showing any attention to Lucas, who was covered in blood. Well, maybe Lucas will kill them all. I spread my arms wide in an effort to protect Adolphe. But perhaps that was interpreted differently by the mob. Seeking salvation, the mob quickly rushed toward the saint of misfortune. They were pressing against me from all sides. They grabbed, not my arms, but my body. They clung onto me with their nails, biting and tearing at my skin. From behind, I could feel someone pulling on my hair so hard it felt like my head would come off. Their supposed escorting was nothing but violence that gnawed at me from every angle. They're gonna die, though, because we're gonna get stressed and poof out our poisons.
Shh! Let go of Spacey! You opportunistic bastards are so full of shit! After all these years of bullying her and calling her death.
Adolphe gritted his teeth and pulled his sword out of the ground, using his other arm to break through and pull me back to his chest. Mob took a small step back when they saw his ferocity and drawn sword, but...
Well, like we said, we're sorry for what we did before.
Oh, okay. All is forgiven. Fuck that shit. Cut some flowers down, Adolphe.
Come on, if you're our saint, show us mercy and forgive us, will you?
This is an emergency. There's no other way of preserving our lives anymore. A vein appeared on Adolphe's forehead again. Adolphe glared with cold eyes at the mob, who flinched with fear.
No other way, huh? So you're saying you wouldn't regret your actions if she was your last hope? That's...
Adolphe ignored him and continued, Cut him down, Adolphe.
Now I understand. The reason this country is so twisted isn't because of reliver technology. You know your lives are short, yet you think becoming a reliver is your right, an excuse to devalue all lives apart from your own. You waste 23 years doing nothing, not even trying to break the curse. And now your own lives are threatened, you're suddenly motivated to move, just to blame someone else? You and that damned royal family are to blame for not appreciating the miracle science created to buy everyone time?
Adolphe is like, okay, Adolphe, you... Good. We just gotta get Lucas on the stop stabbing Cyan train before we can let him back in the man harem, I'm just saying.
Even if she were a real saint, you bastards seriously think she'd save your disgusting lives?
Adolphe spoke with his sword, pointed at them in self-defense. I'm here for this. Cut them all down, motherfucker. Do it, Adolphe. Kill him for me, baby. I'm not nice like her. If anyone dared to step forward, I was sure he would kill them without mercy. Adolphe was well known for his skill in fighting. Even with the drug from the arrow, they knew they stood no chance against him. They slowly backed away when suddenly one of the men pushed someone forward. Instinctively, Adolphe prepared to swing his sword at the figure who approached them, but... Wait, Adolphe!
Please help, Laker is saint. If the curse doesn't go away, my dad's gonna die.
The figure that was pushed out from the mob was a young boy much shorter than Adolphe. Thank God he didn't kill the kid. I don't think Adolphe could handle that either. Adolphe quickly stopped himself just before the blade touched the child's head.
No!
Although they're bastards for using the child.
Ugh!
Adolphe! As if waiting for the right moment, one of the men quickly moved behind Adolphe and struck him with a piece of wood. Blood splattered over the face of the boy Adolphe was about to strike.
How dare you try to keep her to yourself? I bet you're that death who kept the saint in captivity!
The men who used the boy as bait quickly charged with bloodshot eyes and began striking Adolphe as he protected me. Well, for a hot second everything was okay. Blood spurted from his head and painted the lycorises around us. I think, okay. Stop! From Adolphe's arms, I did my best to shout at them to stop, but they didn't listen. Girl, poison him.
Oh.
Okay, good. I was like, alright, I was waiting for Lucas to snap out and ever try to save us, but like, I looked at Lucas, but he was just standing there in confusion.
Damn this saint thing! She doesn't have any special powers! I've been telling you idiots that she's just a normal girl who has the same right to be happy as anyone!
Cut the flowers down, Adolphe. That'll kill him fast.
Shut up!
Adolphe's words only made them more mad. There's flowers all around you. Rip some out. One of the men raised a large branch high into the air to finally kill Adolphe. There was no way he would be able to avoid death now. I promised. But it was my fault. My fault. That I was destroying my own wish. I didn't want that to happen. Oh, don't sacrifice yourself. Kill them all. But simply pleading for the mob to stop wouldn't do a thing. Throw yourself on Adolphe. In that case... Stop this at once! I shouted at the top of my lungs. I felt as though my voice would tear through my throat. I'm like, if you fucking kill him, I will absolutely kill you. Threaten them. It's the only way they're going to learn. I'd never yelled so loudly in my life. I would just kill him anyway, but everyone's movements came to a halt. Any guilt I once felt for causing misfortune had disappeared completely. I took another deep breath, reflecting on the anger boiling inside me, and thinking of a way to convince them in all their delusion. It's I you've come for to seek salvation! Fuck. I know it sounds so fucking stupid and awkward. It is I to whom you have come forward to seek salvation from... yeah! You know very well that there's no returning from death, yet you take another life so easily? Or do you believe becoming a reliever will absolve you of the guilt from your sins? I shouted with all my might. Come with you only if you cease this violence. If you dare harm my family again, no one shall save you from eternal death. Wise. This is what I was saying. Just threaten them. Threaten these fuckers. I relied on my pent-up anger to play the part of a dignified saint. The mob quickly knelt to the ground. Forgive us, dear saint! No, I'd stab him. We were wrong. Please show mercy and forgive us. I'd stab him too. You know what? I'd kill them all except for the kid. It's not his fault. Spacey. I'm sorry, Adolphe, but I couldn't come up with any other way. If I didn't stop them, you would have died. Like fuck. Oh, God. This is getting fucking intense, and everyone is dying, and everyone... Lucas might end up coming to our rescue, but, like, Anko is not dead. He can't be, but, like, you know, who knows if Lucas is gonna snap out of it, or is gonna go back to, and, like, drag Anko's body back. Like, I don't know how this is, but this isn't gonna go well. I have a feeling we're gonna get another tragic ending before maybe a salvation end in this one too, like everything else, but fuck. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.